You talk too much. I am not insulting you. I am diagnosing you. Every time you explain yourself, you lose ground. Every time you justify your decisions, you hand someone power over you. Every time you chase understanding from people who have already decided not to give it, you are draining the one resource that actually builds power, your silence. The most dangerous men in history said almost nothing. They did not explain. They did not defend. They did not need you to understand. Today you find out why and how to do the same. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe it was a colleague who dismissed your idea in front of the entire room, not with an argument, not with a counter-proposal, just a look. A single dismissive exhale, and the meeting moved on like you had never spoken. Maybe it was a friend who canceled on you for the third time in a row. Short message, vague excuse, no real apology, just the quiet assumption that you would absorb it without consequence. Maybe it was someone you trusted completely, someone you built something real with, who withdrew without warning. No confrontation, no conversation, just a slow, deliberate disappearance that left you holding every unanswered question like dead weight. What did you do? You reached out, you explained. You sent the message you had been composing in your head since the moment it happened. You chose your words carefully. You struck the right balance between composed and honest, between firm and reasonable. You laid out exactly what happened and exactly how it made you feel and exactly what you needed going forward. You were not angry. You were articulate. You gave them everything they needed to understand. And it changed nothing. Or it made things worse. Because the moment you opened your mouth to defend yourself, something shifted in the dynamic that you could feel but not name. They saw it. That almost invisible flicker behind your eyes. The desperation, not desperate like begging, but desperate like a person who genuinely needs the resolution. Desperate like someone who cannot move forward without closing the loop. And in that moment, without throwing a punch, without raising their voice, without doing anything at all, they won. You have been doing this your entire life. Trading your silence, your most powerful, most underutilized asset, for the cheap, temporary relief of being heard by people who had already decided not to listen. You have spent years giving words to moments that did not deserve them. You have burned energy, lost sleep, restructured conversations in your head at 2 in the morning, all in service of making someone understand something they were never going to acknowledge. And here is the thing nobody says to your face. Every time you did that, you lost twice. Once when they disrespected you, and again when you responded because your response confirmed what they suspected, that they could reach you, that they could get inside your psychology, that their opinion of you was powerful enough to redirect your behavior. Machiavelli watched men destroy themselves this way for decades. Brilliant men, strategic men, men who could engineer political outcomes and command armies and navigate the most treacherous courts in Renaissance Europe, and then dismantle everything they had built through a single, desperate need to be understood. He watched princes lose kingdoms not on the battlefield, but in the moment they opened their mouths when they should have been stone. He documented it. He studied it. He identified the pattern with surgical precision. And the world has spent 5 centuries pretending not to understand what he was pointing at. The enemy is not the person who disrespected you. The enemy is your need to respond. We live in an era of compulsive noise. Everyone broadcasts. Everyone performs. Everyone announces their plans, justifies their choices, defends their decisions, shares their pain in real time to anyone with an internet connection, on platforms specifically engineered to reward volume over depth and reaction over reflection. The modern world has made silence so culturally uncomfortable, so associated with weakness and passivity, and having nothing to say, that most people have completely forgotten what it feels like to sit inside genuine silence, let alone use it as a weapon. But Machiavelli understood something that the noisy world refuses to accept. Words are liabilities. Every sentence you speak is a data point. Every explanation reveals the gap between what you projected and what you actually felt. Every defense is an admission that the attack landed deep enough to require a response. Every clarification tells the room exactly how much their perception of you matters. He wrote in The Prince that the most effective rulers do not explain their power. They demonstrate it, quietly, consistently, without seeking acknowledgement from the people they rule. Silence is not the absence of something. It is the presence of everything, compressed, contained, waiting. The man who speaks constantly is displaying his entire psychological architecture to anyone willing to pay attention. He needs you to understand him. He needs the loop closed. He needs resolution on your timeline because he cannot generate it on his own. He is what I call a glass box, every gear visible, every mechanism readable, every insecurity accessible from 20 feet away by anyone who knows what to look for. The man who says nothing is a sealed vault. You do not know what he knows. You do not know what he has already decided. You cannot determine if your words reached him at all. You cannot tell if he is angry or indifferent or 3 strategic steps ahead of everything you just said. You cannot read him. And that inability, that absence of data does not register in the human brain as emptiness. It registers as depth. It registers as control. It registers as the profile of someone operating under rules you do not have access to. And that perception is not a misread, because it is true. The glass box loses every exchange before it begins. The vault wins every exchange before a word is spoken. There is a principle in behavioral psychology called the locus of control. It describes the location where a person believes the outcomes in their life originate, from inside themselves, or from the external forces and people around them. People with an external locus of control are perpetually reactive. Every social interaction becomes a negotiation for approval. Every confrontation triggers immediate crisis management. They monitor the room constantly, adjusting their behavior based on what they read in other people's faces. They cannot sustain silence because silence feels like losing. Talking feels like steering. They believe on a deep, instinctive level that if they find the right words, they can control how the situation resolves. They cannot. They are performing control for an audience that is quietly documenting everything they reveal. People with a strong internal locus operate in an entirely different reality. Their sense of themselves does not require external confirmation. They have processed the situation internally. They have already reached their conclusions. Your agreement or disagreement does not change what they have decided. They are not managing your perception of them. They are managing their trajectory. This is the psychological foundation of silence as power, not a tactic, a state of being. When you respond to a provocation, you broadcast an external locus. You signal, your opinion of me carries enough weight that I am now spending my resources, my time, my words, my emotional energy, addressing it. You have handed them the leash to your psychology and called it a conversation. When you do not respond, you broadcast an internal locus. You signal, I have already processed this. My course was already set before you spoke. Your input arrived and was not required. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Nazi death camps, who had every external circumstance stripped from him by force, wrote about the gap between stimulus and response. Between what happens to you and how you choose to react, there exists a space. A pause, a gap. Most men in his position had no gap. The suffering arrived and the reaction followed immediately, automatically, without choice. Frankl found his freedom in widening that gap deliberately. He said that in that space lies human dignity, and the last form of freedom that cannot be taken by any external force. Most men have no gap. They are fused to their reactions. Insult arrives and rebuttal fires within seconds. Silence arrives and explanation follows within minutes. They are predictable machines, and the people around them have quietly learned every input that produces every output. The dangerous man widens the gap. He stretches it deliberately, consciously over time, through practice and through the discomfort of holding his tongue when every nerve in his body is screaming to speak. The stimulus arrives, the insult, the dismissal, the deliberate provocation, and he does not respond. Not because he has nothing to say, because he has decided that saying it serves nothing. Because he has decided that his words are too valuable to spend on someone who has not earned the right to receive them. Robert Cialdini's research on social influence documented what Machiavelli observed in practice 500 years earlier, that humans are deeply unsettled by social voids. When someone fails to respond to a clear social cue, the observing mind does not conclude that the silent person has nothing to say. It concludes that the silent person operates under a different framework entirely, that they are processing something larger, that they know something you do not. And that conclusion assigns them power that no rebuttal could ever generate. There's also the Zeigarnik effect, the documented psychological phenomenon that unresolved interactions occupy more mental real estate than completed ones. The brain archives finished business. Closed loops are filed and released, but open loops, they run in the background indefinitely. They intrude at 3 in the morning. They surface in the middle of unrelated conversations. They demand a resolution that never arrives. When you withdraw without explanation, you leave every interaction permanently unresolved in someone else's mind. You become a background process that cannot be closed. a tab that cannot be shut, an itch with no location. You occupy real estate in their psychology without paying a single cent of your attention for it. And you do this entirely through the power of saying nothing. Machiavelli wrote about virtue, not moral virtue, not goodness in the traditional sense, but a fluid, situational excellence. The capacity to read exactly what a moment requires and deliver precisely that, no more, no less, no performance, no excess. The man who possesses virtue does not have a fixed response to every situation. He has a calibrated one. And sometimes, more often than anyone comfortable with power will admit, what a moment requires is nothing. Stillness, withdrawal, the ghost move. Here is the architecture. When someone crosses a line, when they dismiss you, disrespect you, take your presence for granted, or simply reveal through their behavior that they have miscalculated your value, every instinct fires at once. Respond. Correct the record. Establish that there are consequences. Make them feel the weight of what they have done. Do none of it. Instead, go quiet. Not the dramatic quiet of a man suppressing rage, not the performative quiet of someone waiting to be noticed. Genuinely, functionally, strategically quiet. Less available, slower to respond, shorter when you do, present in the sense that you have not disappeared but behind glass, visible but untouchable. You do not announce this. You do not send a message that says you are pulling back. You do not post anything designed to signal your change in availability. You do not give anyone the narration to your own disappearance. The moment you explain the withdrawal, you have turned it into a negotiation. You have handed them the script. They apologize here, say this there, do that other thing, and the situation resolves, and your silence was just a temporary condition with a known cure. The ghost move has no cure, because it has no announced cause. It has only behavior, quiet, consistent, unreadable behavior that gives the observing mind nothing to grip. And the observing mind, deprived of something to grip, does something remarkable. It generates its own conclusions. First, it searches for cause. What changed? When did this start? What did I miss? Did I do something? The mind cannot sustain an open loop without attempting to close it. It will cycle through possibilities for days, weeks, sometimes months, assigning blame, testing theories, finding no resolution because you gave it none to find. And this cycling process, this exhausting, involuntary mental labor, happens entirely without your effort or your presence. Second, it assigns power. If someone has gone quiet and displays no visible signs of distress, no frantic messages, no public performances of pain, no desperate attempts to re-establish contact, the observing mind draws a single inescapable conclusion. They are fine. They have redirected. The absence is a choice, not a reaction, which means they did not need the connection the way you thought they did, which means you overestimated your position in their life. Which means, and this is the part that hits hardest, they were always more free than you realized. And freedom is terrifying to people who are not free. Third, recalibration. The person who dismissed you begins, quietly, without acknowledging it even to themselves, to reassess the value of what they had. Familiarity had made your presence invisible to them. Absence makes it legible. This is not manipulation in the exploitative sense. It is basic market dynamics applied to human attention. Constant availability drives the price of your presence towards zero. Scarcity is the only mechanism that restores it. But understand this with absolute clarity. The ghost move only functions when the withdrawal is completely genuine. If you go quiet while secretly monitoring their every move, checking whether they viewed your story, counting the hours since they were last online, refreshing the conversation to see if they have started typing, you are not a ghost. You are a hostage wearing the costume of freedom. The strategy collapses because your energy never actually left. You redirected nothing. You built nothing in the silence. You just waited invisibly with your hand still extended. The ghost move requires that your attention actually goes somewhere else. Somewhere that earns it. Your work, your health, your goals. The thing you have been putting off because you were too busy managing relationships that were managing you. The ghost move is not about them at all. It is about finally redirecting the energy that was bleeding into a direction that was giving nothing back and watching what you can build when it stops bleeding. In the spring of 1513, Niccolo Machiavelli was arrested. The charge was almost certainly fabricated by men who recognized him as a threat and found it easier to remove him than to argue with him. He was taken to the Bargello prison in Florence. He was tortured on the strappado, suspended by his wrists, tied behind his back, then dropped repeatedly until the joints separated. He survived. When they released him, they stripped him of everything: his political position, his income, his social standing. His access to the corridors of power he had spent 20 years navigating. He was sent to his farm at Sant'Andrea in Percussina, a small, unremarkable property outside Florence, with nothing left except his mind and his time. He did not petition for reinstatement. He did not write desperate letters to the Medici explaining his loyalty. He did not seek audiences with men who had demonstrated they would rather torture him than trust him. He did not perform his suffering publicly to generate sympathy. He did not chase the closure that would never come. He went quiet. He worked the land during the day. He argued with woodsmen in the local tavern about petty things at night, just to feel something human. And then, after the games and the arguing and the wine, he went home, changed into his formal robes, the official garments of the political office they had taken from him, sat at his desk and wrote. The Prince, the Discourses on Livy, The Art of War, Florentine Histories. He wrote from a silence that the Medici had created and handed him. He took what they intended as punishment and turned it into a laboratory. Every observation he had made over 2 decades of navigating power, every pattern of human behavior, every architecture of control, every mechanism of loyalty and betrayal and dominance, he compressed it into work so precise, so enduring, so irreducibly true that it has never stopped being relevant. His enemies are footnotes. They exist in the historical record only in relation to him. He is not a footnote. He is a category, a school of thought, an adjective in every language, Machiavellian. They took everything from him and handed him the conditions that made him permanent. Now consider Charles de Gaulle in June of 1940. France had collapsed. The government had surrendered to Germany. The entire military and political infrastructure of one of the most powerful nations in Europe had capitulated in 6 weeks. De Gaulle, a junior general, not a senior commander, not a politician, not a recognized leader of any formal institution, fled to London with essentially nothing. No authority, no army, no official government backing him, no legitimacy that any recognized power structure would acknowledge. By every conventional measure, he was irrelevant. He delivered a single radio broadcast from London, 18 minutes, one call for resistance, and then silence. He did not flood the airwaves with follow-up messages justifying his right to speak. He did not spend every available hour explaining why France should listen to him over the men who had formally surrendered. He did not perform his leadership. He made the statement. He held the position. And then he went quiet and let the statement work. The French resistance organized in the shadow of that silence. People who had never met him, in towns they had never left, began coordinating under his name. Not because he had overwhelmed them with communication, because he had not. His restraint was indistinguishable from certainty. His silence was indistinguishable from composure. And composure, real composure, not performed composure, in the middle of total collapse, is the most magnetic quality that exists. He became the symbol of French liberation not because he out-talked his opponents. Because when he spoke, the words carried weight that had been built by all the moments he had chosen not to. He became powerful in the gaps, in the silence, in the spaces where lesser men would have been explaining themselves. The pattern holds across every era, every domain, every culture. The men who changed things were not the loudest men in the room. They were the most deliberate. They spoke when speech served the mission. And they were completely, unreadably silent the rest of the time. Here is the part nobody wants to say directly. You are not executing the ghost move to win someone back. You are not going quiet to teach them a lesson that ultimately repairs the relationship. You are not withdrawing to reset a dynamic that will eventually stabilize into something functional. You are not managing a situation. You are ending one. This is the uncomfortable truth at the center of everything. The ghost move is not a relationship strategy. It is a diagnostic. When you withdraw, genuinely, without performance, without the secret hope that they will chase you and prove you wrong about them, you receive information that no conversation could have produced. The people who feel the gap, who notice your absence, who examine their own behavior in the space you created, who come back not with excuses but with genuine acknowledgement, those people are showing you something real. They are showing you that the connection had substance underneath whatever dysfunction had accumulated on top of it. They are showing you that your presence had value they had stopped seeing, but had not stopped needing. Those people are worth something. Return to them carefully, but return. The people who do not notice, who interpret your silence as weakness, who take the space you created and fill it with their own noise, who simply move forward without looking back. Those people have given you the clearest, most honest information they are capable of giving you. They have shown you that your silence costs them nothing. And if your silence costs them nothing, your presence costs them nothing either, which means what you thought was a mutual investment was a solo performance. Your time, your energy, your attention, your loyalty, all of it was spent. None of it was returned. You were funding a connection that existed primarily as a concept in your own mind while the other person was simply present, occasionally, when convenient. Walk away from those people, not dramatically, not with a speech about what they are losing, not with the final message you have composed 100 times that says everything you wish you had said sooner. Just leave quietly, permanently, without a closing statement. This requires something that most people discover they do not actually have: the capacity to sit in the discomfort of genuine uncertainty. When you go quiet and hold the position, you do not know how they will respond. You do not know if they will chase or retreat or simply redirect their attention to someone more available. You do not know if what you thought mattered actually mattered at all. That uncertainty is not abstract. It has a physical weight. It sits somewhere in your chest. And rather than carry it, rather than develop the tolerance to hold it and keep moving, most people break. They send the message, they make the call, they check the profile, they break the silence. Because the relief of knowing, even knowing something bad, is worth more to them than the power that lives inside not telling. But the philosophers understood something the comfortable world refuses to accept. Most of your suffering, the chronic kind, the kind that follows you from relationship to relationship and situation to situation, does not come from what people did to you. It comes from your refusal to stop explaining yourself to them afterward. You replay conversations. You revise arguments. You rehearse the version of events that would have gone differently. You spend your most finite resource, your attention, on people who have already exited your story and are living in someone else's. Schopenhauer called this the trap of the will, the endless, irrational desire to impose your version of events on a reality that has already moved on. Machiavelli would have called it political suicide, spending resources on a territory that has already been conceded. The ghost move is the decision to stop spending your silence on people who have demonstrated that it costs them nothing. It is the decision to take that silence back, to pour it into the only direction that will ever actually return something. Yourself. Look at what your attention has been doing. Not metaphorically, practically. Think about the last 30 days. Count, if you can, the number of conversations you had that were primarily explanations. How many messages did you send to justify a decision to someone who did not ask for the justification? How many times did you carefully word something, rewording it, softening the edges, testing it for tone, because you were trying to control how someone else received it rather than simply saying what was true? How many times did you give someone who had already decided a detailed case for why they should decide differently? The case did not work. It will not work. Not because you are inarticulate, because articulation is irrelevant when the audience has closed. People do not change their positions because you present better arguments. They change their positions when something shifts in the underlying emotional reality, when the cost of their position exceeds the benefit. Your words cannot shift that. Only your behavior can, specifically your absence. Go quiet, not as a calculated move designed to produce a specific reaction. As a genuine, daily, deliberate act of redirecting your most valuable resource toward things that deserve it. Choose yourself, not as a concept, as a practice. Every hour you do not spend explaining yourself to someone who has not earned your explanation is an hour you have reclaimed. Compound that, week after week, month after month. Watch what accumulates. The discomfort will arrive immediately. The brain is a social organ that evolved in environments where silence meant exclusion and exclusion meant death. It will signal alarm when you do not close the loop. It will generate urgency around situations that do not deserve urgency. It will tell you that something is unresolved and must be addressed right now before anything irreparable happens. Let it signal, widen the gap, watch the alarm without answering it. That discomfort, that specific, almost physical urgency to explain yourself, to reach out, to fix the perception, is your nervous system running the old software. The software that was written in an era when belonging to the group was survival. You are not in that era. You are in an era where the greatest threat to your power is not exclusion. It is accessibility. It is the assumption, spread across every relationship and situation in your life, that you are always available, always explainable, always willing to close whatever loop someone else has left open. The dangerous man is not always available. He is never fully readable. He does not close every loop. He lets some loops stay open, not because he forgot, but because he decided the loop was not worth the energy required to close it. Build that, practice it daily. Start small. Do not respond immediately. Let a conversation rest for hours before you return to it. Sit in the discomfort of being briefly misunderstood and watch whether anything actually collapses. Discover, through practice, that most of the urgency you feel around being understood is urgency you generated yourself, and that the world continues turning whether or not someone has the full context of your decisions. Then take it further. Apply it to the situations that actually cost you. The relationship where you have explained yourself 50 times and the dynamic has not shifted once. The professional environment where every well-reasoned argument you make is absorbed and ignored. The friendship where your availability is taken for granted because you have never demonstrated that your availability has limits. Go quiet in those places, genuinely. Redirect the energy, build in the silence they gave you, and let them figure out without your help what your absence means. The dangerous man does not disappear to make you miss him. He disappears because he has somewhere more important to be. And the man who always has somewhere more important to be, who is never fully captured, never fully explained, never fully available, is the man that people never fully get over. Build that somewhere, and go there without explanation, without announcement, without looking back to see if they noticed. They will notice. If this reached you, if something in these words located something you already knew but had never heard spoken with this kind of precision, understand that what you watch today is the accessible version. The ghost move has layers I cannot walk through on a public platform. Specific application mechanics for professional hierarchies, for personal relationships at different stages, for negotiation dynamics, for the particular psychology of the person who has real power over your circumstances. The algorithm does not surface content that actually changes outcomes at that level of specificity. It surfaces content that is comfortable enough to function as background noise. What changes things at that level is behind the join button. If you are still here, if you made it to this point, you are not a passive consumer of content. You came for the tool, not the feeling the tool produces. Subscribe if you have not. But if you want the complete framework, the parts that cannot be discussed in a format the system approves of, the precision applications that comfortable psychology would prefer you never encounter, click join. Step into the architect level. You will find what I cannot say in a video open to everyone. Most will not. That is the nature of the information. Power is not scarce because there is not enough of it. It is scarce because most people, when given the choice between the comfort of being understood and the discomfort of becoming dangerous, choose the comfort. Every time. The question is not whether this is real. You already know it is. You have known it since the first time you realized that explaining yourself made everything worse instead of better. The question is whether you are done spending your silence on people who do not know what it costs, and whether you are ready to find out what you can build with it instead.